No wonder planet Earth is an incredible place to live in. And you know what the best part is? It never ceases to surprise you with its awe-inspiring sights, indigenous beauty, and magnificent natural phenomena, which are simply brilliant in their own way. Much of what happens on our planet can be explained, but today we're going to tell you about some of the most mysterious destinations around the world that continue to astound and mystify explorers and scientists to this day. Check out these 10 incredible sites and unravel secrets about their amazing origins and bizarre features. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe and click the notification bell for more amazing content. Let's begin. Number 10. Quicksand. Quicksand is one of the staple environmental hazards in cartoonish low-budget movies, where it's been known to quickly swallow unwitting persons as they wander through jungles and deserts. Unsurprisingly, real quicksand is pretty tame in comparison to Hollywood's depiction. Normal sand can support extreme amounts of weight because friction between the grains of sand creates a force chain, distributing the load across a large area. But once there is sufficient moisture, the sand and water becomes a suspension, where the sand particles are floating within the water. This significantly reduces the friction between the grains of sand, compromising its ability to support weight. Because the water seeps in from the bottom, the top layer of soil is often dry, causing it to appear to be normal sand. In reality, quicksand is very rarely deep enough that a person could become submerged in it. One would have to try pretty hard to drown in it unless you happen to land in it face first. Nonetheless, it's important to remain calm and stay afloat if you somehow find yourself in the middle of the sand puddle. It's probably best enjoyed from afar. It's better to be safe than sorry. Number 9. Breathing forest. The internet is a hub for spooky videos, and this time around a video of a breathing forest has managed to rattle social media users. The video really does capture a section of a forest in Quebec heaving to and fro, looking like it's breathing. The Weather Network put everyone's mind at ease by announcing that the ground coming to life in such a way isn't as impossible as it seems. It turns out the cause is just loose soil combined with the wind pulling the trees. Tree expert Mark Van der Vo explained that during heavy rainfalls and strong windstorms, the ground becomes saturated, loosening the soil's cohesion with the roots. If the winds were strong enough and lasted long enough, more roots had begun to break, eventually uprooting trees from the ground. Despite its unsettling appearance, the phenomenon in the video, however, is not so dramatic, with the Weather Network saying that they've received a few videos of a forest breathing. It's just the wind doing the trick. Number 8. Disappearing beaches. Australia is famous for its natural wonders and wide-open beaches, but have you ever heard about Australia's disappearing beaches? Sounds crazy, right? We're talking about a popular tourist spot that hit the headlines in 2018. Located at Inkskip Point near Rainbow Beach, a large section of it has fallen suddenly into the ocean due to erosion almost 3 years after a giant hole quickly grew to 200 meters in width and 10 meters in depth and showed no signs of stopping. So people had to be evacuated, followed by another landslip that tore a bite from the coastline a few months later in March 2016. This new land deterioration is far bigger than the last two. The incredible footage shows the timeline of a way in which the beach astonishingly vanished. It's kind of shocking for us to witness this land lost to sea. Geologist Peter Davies from the University of the Sunshine Coast said, "It's likely this erosion has been caused by the undermining of part of the shoreline by tidal flow, waves and currents, and it'll certainly happen again. All we can hope is that the beach does not disappear completely. Fingers crossed." Number 7. Giant sinkholes. The ground beneath our feet, our highways and our cities appears to be very sturdy. but on rare occasions that solid ground can suddenly collapse into a giant sinkhole, sucking virtually anything from nearby cars, people, or sometimes even entire buildings. In 2010, an enormous sinkhole suddenly appeared in the middle of a Guatemalan neighborhood and swallowed a 3-story building above it. From the air, the giant Guatemalan city sinkhole appears so perfectly round and deep that photos of it almost look doctored. The Guatemalan city sinkhole was estimated to be 60 feet wide and 300 feet deep, which appears to have been triggered by the deluge from the tropical storm. Most sinkholes happen slowly over time and only occur when bedrock made of limestone or other carbonate rock is eaten away by acidic groundwater or a surge of pressure caused by heavy rain. Did you know, recently China announced a major new discovery of 49 massive sinkholes that were previously unknown, representing the highest natural density of the phenomenon in the world. China is also home to one of the largest sinkholes known to mankind. It's called Heavenly Pit, which is reportedly over 2,000 feet wide and almost 2,200 feet deep. That's a long way down. Number 6. Fairy circles. The weird fairy circles of Namibia have been one of nature's great mysteries. These extremely ordered round patches of bare soil within arid grasslands are distributed very uniformly over the landscape of the Namib Desert. The origins of the circles have long baffled researchers. Various theories circulate about the actual cause of these unusual spatial patterns, ranging from poisonous euphorbia plants or rising gases to ants, termites, or radioactive contamination, and even ostrich dust baths. Some believe they're footprints from the gods, others think they're formed by dancing fairies or UFOs. An international team of researchers from Germany, Australia and Israel has carried out a detailed investigation of soil and suggests that the fairy circles in the desert were caused by processes such as the weathering of the soil by heavy rainfall, extreme heat and evaporation. Another popular hypothesis says that the patterns are created by competition for scarce water in the parched landscape. It's believed that the bare patches percolate more rainfall and act as water reservoirs, which the grass along the edges of the circle can access. The fairy circle debate is far from over. Scientists advise further continuous studies of wind, water, soil and biological processes to unravel hidden secrets about these mysterious fairy circles. Number 5. Seismic fissures. Ground cracks, also known as earth fissures or ground fissures, is a special type of geological disaster that occur in many parts of the world. In 2005, a series of fissures opened up a 35-mile-long crack in a remote part of northern Ethiopia over the span of just a few days. Researchers believe that it all began with a big earthquake followed by a swarm of moderate tremors and underground intrusion of magma erupted by a nearby Tabahu volcano. Luckily, the only fatality was a camel that fell into a fissure. The 20-foot-wide fissure is now believed to be an early indication of an entirely new ocean, which will eventually swallow the Red Sea within the next million years. The scientists plan to set up an observatory to watch the split and see how it happens. Another huge crack opened up in the forest near Birch Creek on Michigan's Upper Peninsula in 2010, extending some 360 feet long and 5 feet deep. Scientists have found that during this event, bedrock limestone violently heaved upward to displace the overlying clay layer, resulting in a giant crack formation. Apparently, the crack poses no threat, aside from causing some of the trees to tip over. Number 4. Exploding methane craters. In 2017, reindeer hunters near the far north village of Siberia heard a loud boom followed by a lot of fire and smoke. Tracking it down, they discovered a mysterious giant hole in the ground. Scientists investigating this discovery located large deposits of methane gas that are trapped in ancient Siberian permafrost, forming what is called a gas hydrate. As the permafrost gets warm, it causes organic matter like dead plants or animals that are preserved within the sediments of permafrost to suddenly decompose. This decomposition accumulates enough methane gas to blast through the air. Though methane remains stable and frozen at certain temperatures, as the permafrost gets warmer, it loses its internal strength and is then less likely to hold the buildup of subsurface gases, eventually getting collapsed. Scientists have also discovered hundreds of huge craters, some over 3,000 feet wide, on the sea floor of the Arctic Ocean. And with climate change on the rise, it's highly likely that geological anomalies like these could become increasingly common around the globe. To avoid such an event, the Russian team has now suggested drilling holes into the permafrost to release the pressure artificially and avoid any Big Bang. Number 3. Liquefaction. On March 11, 2011, a massive earthquake shook the northeastern part of Japan. This strongest jolt ever recorded in the history triggered a giant tsunami, leaving about 20,000 people dead or missing. The scale of this earthquake and tsunami wasn't the only thing that surprised geologists. They also witnessed a widespread shift of underneath solid ground through a process called liquefaction. For those who are confused by the word, liquefaction is a phenomenon that turns solid ground into a liquid-like state. This astonishing footage shows a dark liquid begin spewing out of huge cracks as a result of ground upheaval. This is quite extraordinary. Note how liquefaction-induced ground failures caused cracks to open and close while spouting out a large amount of slushy mud mixture onto the surface. Geologists believe that the soil beneath the areas that were built on reclaimed land from the Pacific Sea tend to sink or tilt when deteriorated during high seismic activities. These seismic vibrations cause soil particles below the ground to lose contact with each other, transforming the once solid ground into a liquefied state of slush and slurry that spreads miles across the country yard. Number 2. Lawn blisters. Most people have experienced the temptation to pop a blister, but did you know there's something similar that can form outside on your lawn? They're called lawn blisters or grass waterbeds, and they occur when water builds up beneath the surface of the grass, causing the surface to jiggle around. A video shot by Amy Joy Childers shows her two sons hopping around on the grass waterbed until it popped, sending muddy water gushing up to the surface as her boys giggled. In 2016 in Siberia, scientists were astonished to find 15 lawn blisters. At first, scientists thought the blisters were created by methane oozing from melting permafrost. Then they deciphered it was mostly water trapped between the topsoil and the permafrost. When moisture from the topsoil melted, the water had nowhere to go because the ground underneath it was still frozen. The result was a bubble. Though lawn blisters look like a lot of fun to play with, having one of these bubbles beneath the lawn is not necessarily a good thing, as it may ruin the overall look. Fortunately, getting rid of them is simple. To do it, you'll need your gardening tools to create holes around the bubble, which will allow the water to come out. Number 1. Saturated soil. Have a look at this incredible footage. These construction workers are not having a dull day at all. They sure did not expect a wobbly start. Though the soil beneath their feet appears to be dry and rigid, it was jiggling like a water-filled balloon and behaving like an inflatable bounce house surface for the workers frolicking upon it. Interestingly, this unique phenomenon was traced back to the previous house owner who had filled the ground pool with clay to level the surface. The guy did not consider draining the remaining groundwater properly before filling it in. Over time the soil did settle, but upon arrival of heavy machinery on site, the immense weight on loose soil and clay mixture with an already high moisture content displaced the solid surface into a wobbling ground. Scientifically, this process is termed a soil saturation, where improper consolidation of clay and soil cause the particles to repel each other and become filled with water through a process of saturation. Lucky for us, engineers and geologists are quite familiar with how to deal with this unusual Earth's wobbling, but these guys look like they're having way too much fun.